Have you heard of his little game called The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus? Repentance, Rebirth, 4 Souls?
A gift for you.
Gift for you to get started. Thank you, Zeke, for gifting a tier 1 sub to Sar Kitty. I don't know if that was given directly or randomly. There will be more Generations Ultimate. What is this haircut? It's like Maggie's hair, but for Eden. And we started with Bob's brain, so don't get too attached because I just saw what the HP is as well. And the coupon, I think? 7GHEZ2PJ, but as I said, don't get attached because I have Bob's brain and not much health. Also, I'm excited. My damage is below starting damage, my tier rate is above starting tier rate, and my speed is ever so slightly better than normal. Yeah, we're probably going to... Well, actually, I don't really want to play as the Lost, as is recent tradition, because I want to focus on what I'm talking about, so it might just be another Eden run after this. But of all the things to start with... Did it even kill anything there? I'm in the habit now of, like, if you're above 11 tier rate as Eden, just restart. Because it's too slow. I do have Bob's brain for extra damage, but it's indiscriminate about who gets damaged. I'm glad we haven't found Bob's brain in 4 Souls yet. If it exists in it, which I assume it does, because every item seems to... You know what, I think I'm just gonna... Yeah, honestly, that would be a much better start. 12 tier rate? Nope, no thank you. 14? Nope. 16 with a slightly above average? Nah. Eden, what happened to you? You used to be cool. It's more like it, but that's because we have the aura item. Oh, we have the wafer and ice cream hair. Yeah, we'll stick with this one. Same HP again, which is weird. KYZM9M0J is the seed. 4 Souls is the card game. We've been playing it in Tabletop Simulator. And it is very good. Very fun. And the recreation of it in Tabletop Sim is fantastic. Like, it could be sold for real money, the quality of the mod. Although if they did that, Ed would sue them. Presumably. Hello everyone who's filtering in. Alright, so again, the thing I wanted to talk about mostly was DC's Titans. And I will talk about spoilers, so if you have any intentions on watching it, you'll probably want to skip this run. Non-spoiler kind of overview. It has a shit ton of problems. Tons and tons I'm about to nitpick to high heaven. But overall, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was bad. It was better than Marvel's Defenders by quite a long margin. And if there's a second season, I would watch a second season. So that's the non-spoiler kind of blanket statement on how it was. Yes, fuck Batman, that's the one. They're terrible, terrible... Was it at Comic-Con, the trailer? Oh, there's a library back at the start. We'll go back and have a look and see what's in there. Not that there's anything wrong with Box of Spiders, of course, but... We'll see what's in there. Yeah, the TLDR was, it was okay. I didn't feel like I wasted my time. And some of the complaints I have are just... They're nitpicky from the perspective of a fan of Batman-related stuff. So that's out of the way. I'm going to talk about spoiler. Well, I'll probably accidentally kind of jump back and forth and spoil stuff. Before I even talk about the program itself, I want to talk about Netflix's preview image of it, because it lies. It lies quite badly as well. They do what the Justice League DVD and Blu-ray release did, where if you've seen the cover to that Blu-ray, they've put the saturation, or the hue, I don't know what the term is, way up so the colours look brighter and more lively than they actually are in the film, to make it seem more jolly and Marvel-esque. So they've done that for the Netflix picture. If you just hover over, like when it had front page promotion on Netflix, they did that for Titans as well. They made all of their armors look super, super bright and cheerful and happy when the general mood of the program is pretty dour. Not like as dour as the DC movies, but still pretty dour. Kind of like a kid's attempt at getting the mood and theme of Daredevil, but doing it kind of badly. So everybody's armor is super bright. Raven's hair is entirely purple, when in the actual program she just has a few purple streaks. Beast Boy's skin is green, when in the actual thing it's just his hair that's green. And the CG effects around Starfire. Is that her name is like Corey or something, right? She never does that in the program. Not in the manner, at least it's presented in the image. Secrets and lies. Yeah, this is a much better start. So I don't even know where I want to start with, like, all the problems I had with it. Well, actually, no, let's cover some good stuff. The lady who was playing Corey, I thought was very good, and she seemed the most out of like, comparing them to their comic book versions when watching the trailer. I think she was the one most people took issue with because Starfire is supposed to be like an orange-skinned alien or something. They might have been worried about too many similarities to Donald Trump, I'm not sure. But she is a good actress, the lady that got to play her, and I think they were very smart to make her not just about firing like laser beams from her hands, because when they did that it was awful. They made her a bit of a badass in close combat, and my second favourite fight scene was her kicking ass in close combat, not using like her fire powers. So they were smart to do that. Well, okay, yes, her dress made her look like a hooker, yes. Which was a little bit unfortunate. For a whole bunch of reasons, honestly. Ah, what is this room? But yeah, her as an actress was good. Well, I won't say all of them. The guy they had playing Dick Grayson was fine. I think he's an okay actor. Raven, I mean, the actress had nothing to work with because she basically doesn't say or do anything apart from occasionally, like, scream, maybe. The guy playing Beast Boy was annoying, but I believe that's supposed to be his character essentially, so I don't know. So as far as the main cast goes, yeah, it was alright. The person they had playing Jason Todd was a little bit too much of a caricature. Like, the way he was like bubbling and acting, it was just too OTT. Which is over the top. If kids today don't say that anymore. No, there's no Cyborg, no. Actually, while we're on the subject, let's talk about Beast Boy. I don't know much about him. He's been in a couple of the Batman comics I've read. He's in Batman Metal. But it's not even called Batman Metal, it's just Metal, because it has the entire DC universe involved. He should not have been in this program for a bunch of reasons. One, he has nothing to do. His one story arc is resolved in a single episode, and it's dumb. And I don't know if they thought that up or if it's from comics. They're like, he lives in an X-Men-esque mansion with a bunch of weirdos, one of which is a robot. Who was a funny character, but just, it was too weird. And once that's resolved, he has nothing else to do. He's there to be, like, the one to support Raven's stupid decisions. That's all he is. That's his entire character. They shouldn't have included him for that reason, because they gave him nothing to do. And two, because if they didn't have him, they wouldn't have to waste so much of their money on CG that looks terrible. Like, the worst CG in the whole thing, turns out, is not Starfire's fire powers. It's anytime Beast Boy turns into a green CG tiger. And it's just awful. It is the absolute worst. Also, the only reason he turns into just a tiger is definitely budget constraints. They didn't want to have to CG a bunch of other animals. Within the context of the show, the excuse is, like, he says a passing remark about it's psychosomatic that he always becomes a tiger. That's bullshit. It's because they didn't want to have to pay for more CG animals. So, I know they're having to stick to, like, here's the lineup of the original Teen Titans, at least presumably. They should have just ignored that and not had him. Honestly, they could have had the guy playing Jason Todd fill that role and still have his whole character arc of being an asshole, and that would have been more interesting. So he had nothing. He was just a waste, an absolute waste, and I mean that in the sense of, like, if they didn't waste so much money on his terrible CG, they could have maybe spent it on something better, like Starfire CG or anything else. Honestly, As far as other things I liked, though, I didn't realize Wonder Woman had a sidekick at some point, Wonder Girl, but she's done very well in the program as like a sidekick who gave up and went to have their own life. And the fight scenes involving her are good too. So she was good. Check that out in a second. My biggest complaint about the series, it doesn't make it unwatchable, but it's probably worth knowing going in as well. The series doesn't have a story. It has half a story. So if you're thinking through the whole thing that you're going to see the conclusion to whether or not... Oh wow, raw liver. Whether or not Raven's father is called Trigon or something, right? Trigon? The demon guy. So if you're watching it thinking, oh, I wonder if he'll get out, and then the climactic battle at the end of the series is the Teen Titans taking on Raven's father. No. The conclusion to the series is he gets out and then it ends. So the whole thing they've been building up to for the whole series doesn't have a conclusion because they're really, really desperate for a second season. The last episode of the season is, not exaggerating, 95% a dream sequence to allow Batman fans to masturbate. Because it's just a what if sequence where Dick gets called back to Gotham City because Batman's gone crazy and killed the Joker, and then he has to take down Batman, and then you get to see Batman kill some cops, and then Dick has to kill Batman. And that's literally 95% of the last episode. It then cuts back to him to show that you've been seeing his fantasy because Trigon has made him see these things, and then the series ends. That is the conclusion to the series. It is awful. It's an awful, awful ending. Because it's not an ending. It feels like there should have been a part 2 to be the season finale. Because it's doubly confounding because they leave that as being like, here's the hook for season 2. Well, they stopped this demon that they've accidentally let Raven let out. And then their after credit scene is Superman and whatever the super dog is called escaping a lab. Although, no, it can't be Superman because in the DC Titans universe, it's not connected to the movies, so like the Justice League is already a thing, etc. Crypto, that's the dog's name. But some other Superman escaping with Crypto. That's their after credits scene of the final episode. My question is, why have that if you haven't finished the story of the season? It doesn't make any sense. No, Ace the Bat Dog is not there. So I was definitely having more favourable feelings about it prior to that final episode of the season. It also doesn't help that the episode before the finale to the season is 100% filler. And I have a question because I don't know. Are Hawk and Dove actual DC Universe characters, or were they made up for the show? They're a vigilante crime-fighting duo that are in a relationship, and they're not very good at it. They're actual characters. Dude, that's very disappointing to hear because they're very, very bad. Are their characters different in the comics? Oh, they were created 51 years ago. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. Like, I get the reason why Dove is there because she's like an ex-love interest for... I'm going to say Nightwing. For Nightwing. They had superpowers? That would have made them more fitting, I guess. Because they're just like Batman and Robin wannabes. And then they have an entire episode dedicated them right before the season finale, in which the only thing of interest that happens is that Raven's, I don't know, psychic projection keeps on appearing and says please help. That's literally the only thing. There's no other purpose for the episode. Hawk possesses a danger sense transformation, which allows him to change into superhuman with the powers of super strength, unlimited stamina. Okay, Superman, essentially. Well, he definitely does not have that in the series. I kind of liked how they were setting it up when they introduced him. Like the first episode, which I think is called Hawk and Dove with them in it. That was a good episode. It was like, here's a vigilante pair who aren't particularly very good at it. They're getting worse because they're getting older and they want to retire, but there's this one last crime they want to stop. And then they get in over their heads. Like, that's an okay angle. I kind of like that. But then when they focused on them way too much, it's like, I don't care what happens to Dove. that seemed like, I don't know, like Doctor Who does this thing where they have super expensive episodes with lots of CG and special effects, etc., and then they have toned down episodes so that they can balance it out and not go over budget. It felt like that second Hawk and Dove episode was the equivalent of that. It's the equivalent of a Simpsons sketch show episode. Nobody wants to do them, but they have to do them. But their decision to make it the second last episode or third last episode at best of the season was a terrible idea. Destroyed all the momentum towards the finale, which as it turns out doesn't matter because they didn't have a finale. But it's almost like they didn't understand basic story structure and pacing. Are they the series Bulk and Skull? No, I'm making them probably sound like they're like bumbling fools. The guy's a bit of a bumbling fool, but that's just because he's sustained so many injuries. So he can't really fight anymore. Although, when they first introduced them, I thought the Dove, she had special powers because, also I've been ignoring using box of spiders. Nice. I thought she had special powers because in the first fight scene where she comes and rescues Hawk, it's super sped up and makes it seem like she's like zipping around them and slicing all their throats. So I was like, okay, so she's got like super speed and uses knives or something. It's just a bad special effect they decided to put on the fight. And on that subject, oh, hello Seeker. I have no idea why they did this, and they stopped doing it towards the end of the season, and I'm glad they did. But for whatever reason, they just added in so much CG blood spitting out of people's mouths as they get punched and kicked in combat. It's ridiculous. There's a flashback fight where Robin is helping Hawk and Dove, and every time they punch someone, it's just a fountain of badly rendered CG blood splatters out the side of the screen, and I have no idea why they did that. It goes all over the place. It's very clearly fake. I don't know why they didn't use Daredevil as a good example of how to do like gritty, realistic hand-to-hand combat. Because it's basically the gold standard, because they did it so well. But they did kind of ease off towards the end of the season and do it a lot less. I distinctly noticed that they did it less. So before I talk about the thing I mainly wanted to talk about, which was complain about how badly written Dick Grayson is, the episode with Jason Todd, which is just called Jason Todd, is probably the best episode of the season. Makes me wish it was just Batman focused. He has the best fight scene in the series where he just beats up a bunch of cops because he doesn't like them. But it's shot well because it's not a bunch of jump cuts, which is a lot of the other fights are. It's one single shot of him just going between all the cops and beating them up. So that was good. They got his character down. He's an asshole. He just really likes hurting people and Batman lets him do it. And I thought they were going to do something super clever, which obviously I shouldn't have. But when Jason Todd appears and he saves Dick from getting beat up. Oh, thank you, that silent guy who's silent for 9 months in a row. It's a baby name time, also hello there. Is it? It is. We'll name it Jason, just because that's on my mind what I'm talking about. Dick asks him, like, hey, how did you know where I was? And then he said, oh, the tracker. He's like, what? And they discovered that at some point in his life, Bruce put a tracker in his arm so he knew where he was at all times. And later in that episode, he surgically just grabs a scalpel once he works out where the tracker is and cuts it out of himself. And then he says to Jason, if I was you, I'd do the same thing. You don't want Bruce knowing where you are at all times. And I thought they were setting up a nice little character arc for a second season, if they had one, where Jason takes Nightwing's advice, and then when he gets caught by the Joker, Bruce can't find him because he took his tracker out, and that results in Jason dying. And then that would have a whole guilt trip thing for Nightwing. Like, that seems like a very obvious and clever story arc to have. But no, Jason's fine with having the tracker in him, apparently. And nothing else is said of it. I don't know if it's just trying to set up... Like, a lot of the season appears to be setting up that they want Batman to come across as being, like, a bastard. When really nothing else supports that. Except the final episode, which is, again, a dream sequence, so it has nothing to do with anything because it's a dream sequence. So Dick Grayson. The reason Jason Todd in Titans is so overwritten as being just a horrible prick who wants to hurt and murder everybody is because they couldn't just have him be a subtle kind of, he's a rebellious sort who wants to hurt people, because that's Nightwing slash Dick Grayson slash Robin. There is no reason for Dick Grayson to have the personality he has. It's played off that the reason he stopped being Robin was not because he fell out with Batman or anything like that, but because he worried he was becoming too like him and started to like the violence too much. And anytime there's a fight sequence with him as Robin, he goes all out and ends up... I don't know if it actually... it's very vague about whether or not he kills anyone. But he either hurts them a lot or he kills them. Like, some of the injuries feel like he killed them to me, but I don't know. So my point is, it doesn't make any sense. He acts too much like Jason Todd. He isn't witty and sarcastic. He doesn't, like, spit out one-liners and constantly talk to the people he's fighting with. He is meant to be a bit older, obviously, and the whole point of the season is also him kind of getting out of being Robin and trying to discover his own personality. So I assume if there is a second season, he'll become Nightwing by the end of it. But every bloody line out of him, except when he's like talking to Jason Todd about not hurting cops. That's the only time he felt like actual Dick Grayson. Any other line out of him is just, it's not him at all. In any iteration. Like, do you know, like I saw some people pointing to, in the original cartoon, they cover Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing and losing his temper with Batman and leaving. And the thing that makes him do it in that, and get angry enough to punch Batman, if I remember correctly, is that Batman wants some information from a gangster and they attack his home and he's threatening him in front of his family. And it's at that point Dick Grayson as Robin is like, I've had enough, you shouldn't have done that. And that's the step too far. And then he leaves. He discovers later after the fact that Bruce helped rehabilitate the person he interrogated and got his family to safety. So although he was tough on him in the moment, he still did the right thing in the end. So he kind of left for a good reason in the animated series. But it wasn't like... It wasn't like, oh, I'm getting addicted to the violence and it's Batman's fault. So now I'm going to go and be mopey in Detroit. Actually, it's Detroit. It's very jarring that there's so many real life locations used and yet they still talk about like Gotham and Metropolis. It's also a little disappointing that most of his fight scenes are just like throw a smoke bomb down and then don't really see anything, and then a lot of jump cuts. My second favourite fight scene of the whole series though is much better done. It's when he's fighting mom and dad and Starfire is fighting daughter and son. I think that's just what they're called because it's a family that's been like mind controlled to be assassins. In the motel, and it's kind of splitting between Starfire and Robin having their fights, and then eventually Robin decides he has to become Robin, puts on his gear, and then takes on the family at the same time. Like, that's great. That was a fantastic fight sequence. There's not a lot of jump cuts. Yeah, why not? And it actually involved the whole cast. Both those fight scenes are on YouTube, incidentally, I checked. Like, if you do, like, Titans, Jason Todd versus Cops, and then, I don't know, Titans versus the Family, you might find the motel fight. Those are the only two particularly good fights in the whole series, rather. And Dick is meant to be the protagonist. Which is the other kicker. They had to make him more flawed than Dick Grayson usually is, I feel, because he's... Oh, that's very good. Because he's the main character, and a main character that isn't flawed is just Batman. So they didn't want to do that, even though they should have, because I think a more modern day Batman television show that's not Gotham, like with an adult Batman, would be very good. But they needed him to have flaws, so they make him this person who doesn't want to fight anymore because he gets too into it and is going to kill someone. It's definitely Jason Todd, not him. And again, I don't know if this is from the comics as well, but he starts sleeping with Starfire. And then when it turns out she's on the planet to kill... Oh, I thought my invincibility would last. To kill Raven. It's like, oh no, can't sleep with her anymore because she was just trying to save the universe. I'm sure there was more. I'm trying to think now. Thank you, Amused and Hawkward. Hello and goodbye. I can't stay long today, but wanted to say thanks for all the great content. You're very welcome. And have fun, or at least do well if you're having to work or something, depending on what you're doing. Actually, you know what? No, let's just tell Bill's out there. I don't want to do that, room. Oh, yeah, but you reminded me what the other thing was. There's a whole big thing in one of the episodes about Raven's mother saying that she's never cried. And I don't think she had cried up to that point in the season. She cries in the next episode. So that's kind of like, did you just forget what you wrote? Or what? And that's the other thing. I guessed instantly that her mother was really evil. Because when are they not, honestly? Why was she where she was in the asylum if she was, like, in on it? Why was she there? Was it a ruse? And if it was a ruse, how did they know to set it up? Because they didn't know that their Titans were going to escape. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Dick and Raven, Starfire did have a long-term relationship. Yeah, the whole thing with Starfire is it's an amnesia thing. She wakes up with no memory that she's an alien, but then they later discover that she was sent by her home planet to kill Raven because they don't want her father to get released because he'll consume Earth and then eventually consume their planet. Hello, Arto. Hello, Luke. So there's that whole thing. This mom. This is mom. I guess we'll just go. Oh, it's red, mom. Bam, 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 bam. They became one of the long-lasting couples in the DC universe until DC decided to slut Starfire up. What does that even mean? Did she play the field, or did they modernize her by making her sleep with someone else and cheat on him? They went hard on her being super sexy. Is she not allowed to be super sexy with Dick? You know what I mean, Dick Grayson. The breaking off of the relationship. We have to make nerds think they can have her. She can't have a boyfriend. You know, the other thing that's really good about the episode named Jason Todd, it is just essentially what could have been an okay episode of a Batman miniseries. Because it's the two Robins getting used to each other while solving a crime. And that's neat. That's a lot more interesting than the entirety of the story of the rest of the series. They could have just had that stretched out. Like, oh, there's a new serial killer who's going after people who used to work for the same circus as Dick. That's weird. We should probably look into that.
Pretty fly.
What's the critical reception of Titans been? I'm genuinely curious how likely it is they'll get a second season. If them not getting a second season makes them rethink and do something with just like a Batman focus, not necessarily about Batman himself, like focus on Dick Grayson returning to Gotham and becoming Nightwing, or go to Bloodhaven, whatever. Like that would be much better. Essentially just a surrogate Daredevil, but that's okay. It's getting a second season. When is it due out? You're being made to watch it by the missus, but as both a Batman and a Teen Titans fan, I think alcohol will help. Yeah, but as the series goes on, like after the Jason Todd episode, the only other really good episode is the one called Donna Troy. Is that the name of Wonder Girl? That's a good episode. Mostly because the actress they got for her is really good. And it has an okay fight sequence, like she's essentially just a mini version of Wonder Woman, so she's super strong and etc. And she kicks Starfire's ass. Thank you, our troll, for 8 months in a row. I thought I missed a thing there. Forgot to renew, so here we go. Thanks for the entertainment. Thank you for being willing to listen to me yammer about a program which was generally not particularly well received. But keep in mind, for everything I complained about, the biggest one definitely being just how badly they wrote Dick Grayson, it was still okay. It wasn't boring, I guess. That's the nicest thing to say. I was not bored while watching it. In fact, it ate up a day where I had other things I wanted to do and I was watching Titans, so I didn't. I wanted to get a 40k battle report recorded. I still haven't, incidentally, because I wasn't feeling it today. I was gonna. It's like, if I'm not really feeling it, why force myself? I'm almost done watching all the shitty seasons of Hell's Kitchen on Netflix. In season 15, I think it was. I'm genuinely surprised they didn't just kick the exceptionally sexist ex-soldier off instantly. He even went on record, on camera, as saying anytime a female Marine tried to join his unit, he sabotaged them so they couldn't. Like, how is that allowed? Consensus on that is that he was an actor. That wouldn't surprise me, because a lot of it comes across like there's collusion with the people making the program. Because I mean, the general thing with the episodes, whether any or all of them are actors, is that they obviously film their reactions when it's already happened. I mean, when you do those cutaways to them being very angry, that's obviously recorded after the fact, because otherwise they couldn't react to it. And they just must be telling them, like, remember how angry you were, or enthusiastic, etc. And some of them are a bit too good at being as angry as they were in the moment, like when being interviewed after the fact. Titan Season 2 was greenlit in October. It could debut in 2019. If a Season 2 is as kind of just like okay as Season 1 was, and if they still don't finish a fucking storyline in a season, I wouldn't give a third season a try. But I hope everybody is at least saying, hey, the Jason Todd stuff is good, write Dick Grayson better, and even though it's a dream sequence, the Batman stuff in the final episode is good. Like, I really like how they made Batman's suit look in the episode. Obviously they did it the way they did it because they didn't have an actor for Batman. They didn't want to have to commit to an actor for Batman. So it's a suit where you just like can't see who's wearing it at all, but I thought the suit looked really good. I also like that they did the classic Joker suit, although they also never showed the Joker's face, so again, they didn't have to commit to a Joker, but they at least showed his corpse. In his classic purple suit. remember what the poker chip does, so we'll just ignore that. Whoops. See, I've started playing badly now that I'm not talking about something where I can focus on it. Oh, since I decided probably not going to be streaming to, I decided to try the opening hour of Ni no Kuni 2 today as part of my day. And I'm going to give a slightly over-exaggerated, sarcastic description for anyone who isn't aware of the theme of that game. Just in case you're not aware. So, based on my understanding, an hour and 10 minutes or so in, the story to Ni no Kuni 2 is that the President of the United States is traveling back home to Washington. Washington gets nuked, and then he is caught in the nuclear explosion, but rather than die, he is transported to a world where humans and furries live side by side, and there's a tenuous peace between cats and mice. And then a prince that's actually a king who is half cat and half human, because bestiality is okay in this universe, is subject to a coup by an evil mouse. And then the president from the United States, who has a handgun despite the game being medieval times, has to help the young king furry escape. And then also there's invisible little people who follow you around. That's my feelings an hour or so in. The combat's fun. I'm okay with the combat. And I just was not expecting the President of the United States to be in the opening getting nuked. It was quite fun. His name is Roland. Which president isn't it? I just told you it's Roland. Wait, you don't know Roland? I was not touching that, screw you. Yep, that's accurate. See, I'm not making it up. That is what the game is about. President Roland, yeah. Oh no, Roland is his first name, obviously. I don't know what his second name is. For some reason, invincibility frames just sometimes aren't as long as they are in other times, and there's no reason for it. Unfortunately, I can't kill these to get spare hearts. That's the thing. These explode. See, that time I got hit in the exact same space, but only one hit procced. I didn't do much else with my day off other than watch some Hell's Kitchen instead. I got a squad of Necron Scarabs painted. I got another of Joker's Clown Posse painted. I did my weekly food shop, obviously, as is tradition. I was going to watch the original Batman movies, but I got caught up by watching exceptionally bad reality television from America. It makes me angry in all the best ways. Because it's just so fake. Did I go into the secret room? I didn't, did I? So it'd be like there-ish. Oh, my only complaint is also a complaint that the Steam store page for Ni no Kuni has. Your default walk speed is way too slow. You move faster in battle, but in fact you walk faster on the world map as well. It's just in dungeons you trot along and it's very slow. But the game looks really good as well. I like the visual style to it a lot. It does force the game to be longer, yeah. Which I'm worried is their intention. But yeah, I don't know if that kind of thing's a stream-focused game, especially, again, like I was saying before we got started with this run. So many other new games out in the next 2 weeks or so. So I don't want to start a big action RPG. Because then if anybody takes a liking to it, they'll want me to finish it, and that's very, very unlikely. What, my 1.21 speed wasn't enough to get past that? Screw you. Misfiring rooms. Can I just like do a little bit of that? There we are. Just to speed it up a little bit. We have enough health to waste. I do still plan to play like older games that I've got waiting, like The Long Dark and Prey. Prey might be a good fit. How long is that? Is it likely to take me like a lot of 2-hour sessions? Ooh, risky. Nope. Okay, I guess, because we can see where we're going now. Speedball's fine. Little Hush doesn't really do anything. It's right above the secret room. Goddamn little war. Almost bottles of pills. We're getting some really terrible choices here. I should use this bad trip pill when I get hit. Oh, we're discussing favourite Jokers in Batman. Kevin Conroy for Batman. Second choice for Batman. Michael Keaton, maybe? I don't know. I'd be able to answer that more fairly once I get around to watching the 80s and 90s live action movies again. I didn't like Christian Bale at all. Ben Affleck I think is okay. It's not his fault the way the character's written. Joker, Mark Hamill. Second place, whoever they had playing him in Gotham. Got away with a lot of stabbing there. And full aggro on Blue Baby. I have not seen Lego Batman. And on that bombshell, we're going to have to leave YouTube now because the run is over. You can see us recording this and many more roguelikes and other games in general if you come over to the Twitch side, which is much better because we have Candy. There's an asterisk there that says we don't actually have Candy. We might have someone called Candy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.